Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are the Cast Bros. I'm Andrew Castro.
And I'm Adam Castro, and this is episode 4. If you've stuck with us this long, then you know that we start off every episode with revealing to you what we are consuming as far as beverages and snacks. So,
How much
Andrew,
caffeine we have in the middle of the night. Uh,
right?
Today, I have Sour Patch Energy Ghost. And it is my
Woo!
favorite flavor of all time for any candy. It's called Red Berry, which is basically my favorite type of candy, especially for hard candies, is the color red. I don't care. Watermelon, cherry, fruit punch, whatever. If it's the color red, I'm going to like it. So,
It's true though. It's true though. Red is the color of like this is what you judge things off of. Skittles, you grab the red Skittles. Starburst, you grab the red Starburst. Any pre-workout, you grab the fruit punch, right? So that's really what you need to judge anything by.
because when you think about it, the things that are naturally red are fruits and meat. And if it's one of those two things, I'm probably gonna be happy. So I'm not gonna worry about it.
And blood, and blood.
Meat.
Well,
Meat.
yeah, okay, fine, meat.
This
Andrew,
is
no. Actually, I'm gonna bring it up right now. Andrew, when Andrew thinks meat, he literally does think blood because Andrew doesn't cook his meat.
okay.
Andrew
No.
is
I prefer medium rare. I want to know that what I'm eating used to be alive.
he prefers barely dead. That's what he prefers.
I,
We,
I, I
we've
like the
literally
taste. I like the juiciness.
we've literally gone to Roadhouse and they're not allowed to cook it as rare as he wants it. So that's how carnivore Andrew is.
It was a long time ago. I think I posted it on Facebook where I took a cut of it and I posted the cooked side, the outside, and it was all charred up. I turned it. It was so thin, the difference between burnt and red.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was delicious.
When did you start actually liking rare meat? Because I know we both grew up with charboiled,
You're gonna
not
laugh.
charboiled, charred, like very, very, very well done. Our dad likes meat very, very well
He likes it
done.
crunchy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how we were raised, and that's kind of like all we knew. So when did you first discover that you didn't really have to cook the meat that much in
You're
order
gonna
to enjoy
laugh.
it?
It was Norm's with Gran. It was
Oh.
one of the times that I was over at Grant's house. Gran is what we call our grandmother. Uh, my parents used to send me over to her house for the weekend, and she would take me to Norm, she'd take me to Denny's in the morning, whatever. Explains a lot, doesn't it? But yeah, one of the times that she got like a breakfast steak or something, she ordered it medium rare, and in my head, I'm thinking, I don't know what that is. I want it. So I ordered the same thing she did, and she said, "No, this is something that you're supposed to have when you're older. You don't need it yet. You need cooked food." And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm gonna have it this way. I'm very stubborn. You should know this by now, grandmother." So that was the first time I had it. It was delicious. It was juicy. It was well seasoned. It was amazing. And I've never looked back. I was what, 6, 7 when this happened.
No, that's great. I mean, if you have ever had like I mean any kind of burger, a lot of the times in fast food places they undercook it anyways, but that's what gives a burger that juiciness and that moistness, if you will.
That's why I like Five
And
Guys now.
yeah, yeah. So that's cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, I am rocking a 3D Liberty Pop energy drink. That's right, America. Have you tried this one yet?
I don't think that I have. I saw it. I think they sell those at my school now. The 3Ds. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, I have not had one of those yet. I was telling Adam the other day. He asked if I had ever had a Rocket Pop, and I told him I don't remember the last time I had one. I think the last time I had one I was 8 years old, and it was from the ice cream truck guy that used to pull out in front of our house. He doesn't even pull out in front of our house anymore because he knows that we don't have any young children there. But yeah, that was the last time I had one.
Right. All right. My wife is trying to kiss me goodbye. She's gonna be leaving for a little bit, so she's gonna be in the podcast for a second. um, so Yeah, when we get back together again, we will definitely need to get some Rocket Pops, and preferably sugar free. That way I can eat a whole box. But we'll have to get one of those. So this is okay. This is your first time trying it? What do you think? What do you think?
Um,
He's coughing. He's coughing right now.
okay. It has kind of the initial taste is exactly what we said energy drinks taste like: gasoline and gunpowder and all that fun stuff. But the aftertaste is exactly what I remember the red Sour Patch Kids tasting like.
Right? I don't know how they did it, but they got that like sour that they've got that sour down. And
And
it's
there's no
soft.
sugar in it, and they still got the sweetness at the end of it.
Well,
It's exactly
that's all
the
artificial stuff.
no, yeah, but I mean, uh, how their whole shtick is it's sour at first and then it tastes sweet. That's exactly they got that in here.
That's right. That's right. Sour at first and then it's sweet. It's like the backwards of like girlfriends. First they're sweet and then they get sour. But
I'll just be glad you said that after your wife left the room.
yeah, she knows. She knows. Things are
Stephanie's
magic.
gonna watch this later. I'm gonna tell you right. Okay, Stephanie, don't get mad at me. He said it. I didn't say that. But when you watch this, he said that. I didn't say
Are you eating anything right now?
Not right now, but me and my roommate are gonna go get Taco Bell when he gets back. We do our laundry in the middle of the night so that there's no fighting over washers and dryers. So we're gonna be eating Taco Bell while we're waiting for our clothes to get washed.
Ooh, I miss those college years. Taco Bell, laundry in the middle of the night, going to Walmart just to get out of the dorm.
Exactly. That's what we did. Not last week, but the week before. We went. There's this place on Camelback called Two Hippie Tacos. I think that's what it's called. And it's supposed to be like one of the best places in the state to get fish tacos. And they were really good. I don't like cilantro, you know that, but they had a lot of cilantro in it. Aside from that, it was delicious. So we literally went there and then went to Walmart and went back and we're like, oh, we went on a Walmart run.
Nice, nice. Are you going to Taco Bell just because it's so late, or are you?
Yeah, at our school, Taco Bell is the only thing that's open after 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no. Okay, no. There's two things that are open after 10:30: Chick-fil-A and Taco Bell.
Not
And
on
we're just going
Sundays.
to Taco Bell. Not on Sundays.
Nope. The only day you actually want Chick-fil-A.
See, no, because that used to be because we would only drive past Chick-fil-A. The closest Chick-fil-A to our house would be near Green Hills, the church that I go to. That would be the only time we would pass Chick-fil-A. So we'd only think, hey, we want Chick-fil-A. But it's Sunday, and this is the only time we're on this side of the hill.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we live right next to a Chick-fil-A. I think the same Chick-fil-A, and unfortunately, we really only want Chick-fil-A when when it's Sunday, and we're like, oh no, we can't get it today. It happens very frequently, unfortunately.
That's
But,
why every time we're over that we have Wendy's.
Taco Bell is faithful to the end of the day, to the end of the age. Taco Bell will always be there for us whenever we have those hunger pains and want. What's your favorite thing to get there?
They don't have my favorite thing anymore. My favorite thing is the quesarito, and they got rid of it.
You know how bad that thing was for you?
I don't care. It was some
Describe
guy who was.
describe the quesarito, please.
It is a burrito with a lot of hot cheese on the inside, wrapped in a quesadilla. So just a melted cheese tortilla, and it was delicious. It was all the cheese. It had meat, rice, beans,
Sounds so
whatever
bad for you.
it was, but it was delicious. It was some pothead's late night shower thoughts, and was like, hey, what if I took a burrito and wrapped a quesadilla around it?
What if I took all the good things about Americanized Mexican food and threw just
see, and there's some real flops that came from that. There are some Taco Bell menu items that were just out there, but there were some good ones, and that was one of them, and I wanted it to stay.
I understand. You know what I get at Taco Bell? A power bowl a protein chicken power bowl that's got sufficient amount of protein to be able to fuel these muscles, and rice and beans to be able to fuel
You can go to Del Taco for that crap.
the
You don't need to
energy.
go to Taco Bell. Taco Bell is for us college people. You're not one of us anymore.
No, no, no. Del
You're not one
Taco
of
Del
us
Taco
anymore.
has bowls, but they don't have the same kind of bowls. Del Taco's bowls are lame. Taco Bell's Power Menu Bowl, it's amazing. It's great. So I get one of those, and I get a party pack of crunchy tacos. Because how are you going to go to Taco Bell and not get crunchy tacos?
See, but I think that was something that mom and dad did to us, was get us in the habit. If we go somewhere that has a bulk item, we're probably going to get the bulk item. Like Wiener Schnitzels, we would live on the Wiener Schnitzel chili dogs for a whole week, and we
Ooh,
live off of
that was
the
bad.
Taco Bell tacos for a couple days.
Okay, but
Yeah, it was
that's
bad, but we
different.
did it. We'd eat it cold. We wouldn't care.
That's different, though. That's much different, though, because a cold Wiener Schnitzel weenie dog, chili cheese dog, tastes really good out of the fridge. A Taco Bell taco does not.
That is
And
true.
I don't think I need to fight you on that.
Okay, it's okay. There's a lot of foods. I think that was just because you and I grew up really lazy. So anytime we'd have leftover fast food, we'd eat it cold just because. McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Burger King, just because it was like, why would I bother putting this in the microwave? Why would I bother heating this up? It tastes perfectly fine. It's cooked. We don't care.
Yeah, yeah. And there's certain things cold that taste good. Yeah, I mean, you could do with eating a burger from the fridge, but then again, why get it in bulk then if you know there's going to be leftovers for that? Then just go and order one thing or whatever. But we ate much too much fast food growing up, unfortunately, and it's gotten us in really bad habits in life now. I bet you anything that both of us are going through fast food drive-ins way too much, way more than we should. Even me as a personal trainer, I do it too. So and granted I track, and granted I don't have like large fries, or I'll try to get the larger protein items, but it's still not a healthy habit. It really isn't. As I eat my Doritos, that are right
And
here.
even in because the bigger problem was, especially for me, was that I was a gluttonous child because he would eat all that, but he was in track and field. He's a personal trainer now. He lifts weights. He goes to the gym, whatever. I didn't do that. I was a kid. I was like 8 when all this was happening. So bad habits started early. Not great for me. Even now, going to college, I went to the gym for the first time this week since being back on campus.
Woo! How
So
was that?
it's a whole process. We have to reserve the time. We get an hour max.
Wow.
Me and my roommate went on Monday, and we did every type of row that exists. So my shoulders, my upper back, it felt good, but the problem was I didn't get any pump in any of that. I got pump in my forearms, and that stopped me from closing my hand for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't feel sore from the rest of it until this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, but I sent you over what you need for that one. People don't realize that your grip is really important for that kind of stuff, and if you don't have a strong grip, then you're just going to end up fatiguing out your grip and not really work your back. So using straps is really helpful, and you're not lame for using straps. You're not lame for not using your own grip, whatever. If your goal is to work your back, then you do what you need to do to get yourself there.
And the
But
reason was because at the end of it, I wanted to do a deadlift to get because this was my first time going to the gym since this all started. I wanted to shock my body, make sure everything got used at least once. So I wanted to do like a full body thing, do a couple deadlifts, high weight, just to get that body shock. But I couldn't get the weight up because my fingers started losing their grip.
by the
My
way, this is not something I recommend doing. You should take it easy. You should go in slow, and you should ramp up back to where you were. Okay, don't just try to shock the body.
just a jump start. I wasn't gonna go crazy with the weight.
Your body,
I
your
was gonna
body
do
is
the
not a
motion. I
car that you jump start. Okay,
was trying
I'm
to
just
do the motion. Stop judging me. Anyway, I
anyways.
couldn't do it anyway because I didn't feel safe lifting the weight if I wasn't sure I could hold it. So
Right. So I gave you the tools to be able to be the enabler if you do decide to shock your body again. But no, that's great. That's good to hear. I think a lot of people need to get back to working out now. And even though I just saw our brother Aaron post that he was waiting in a long line to get in the gym. It's insane right now trying to get back into working out. The restrictions and the difficulty. It's just, it. If the studies have already kind of shown that you are more likely to get COVID in a restaurant than you are in a gym, especially since there's so many health-minded people in a gym. But we're just gonna have to wait this out. We're just gonna have to wait this out. California just released some more restrictions about Halloween. They're telling you to just have little house candy scavenger hunts instead of going out trick or treating, or one-way trick or treating.
What's the problem? Everyone's already wearing masks.
I know, right? Fun stuff. You know what kick I got on? By the way, for snacks, I got on a jerky kick, man. I don't know why, but Andrew's like, where the hell is he popping out all this food from? I don't know why I missed the jerky train, but dude, jerky's amazing. Jerky's got protein.
You don't remember when I ate a bunch of jerky? It was middle school when we would go on the trips. Mom brought jerky that one time. I'm like, teriyaki jerky, it's delicious.
Now, I don't mean like the jerky, like the bag jerky, because that's a little too chewy for me. But this kind of jerky is like perfect, dude. Got your protein, you got a little bit of healthy fat, you got your meat. You're
eating a meat red vine.
I'm eating a meat red vine. I'm eating a carnivore red vine. I feel like a man doing this. Okay, so call it toxic masculinity if you like, but I don't know. I just think it's a healthier snack than red vines, and a healthier snack than going through the drive-through. Drive-in or drive-through? It's a drive-through, right? Going through
drive-through. It's drive-in is when it's a movie.
Right. We don't get to have those anymore, even though it makes perfect sense too.
It makes perfect sense too, but all the drive-ins that we know of got super expensive over the years. When we were younger, it used to be like $4 or $5 a ticket. Now it's $12, $13, like a regular movie.
Yeah, and I think the whole movie industry is going to be like in the tank at the end of this year. They're not producing any more movies. They're like, there's no content. There's no reason to go to the movies. They're playing. I think the film industry is realizing that if they try to put out movies now, they're not going to get as much money as if they just waited until all this stuff blows over. So they're not putting anything out, which means the movie theaters are not having any content to show, so they can't sell tickets, and so they can't get business. And if the movie theaters close down, then what are the movies going to end up sending their movies to? It's crazy to think that we might see a future with either less or potentially even no movie theaters. Isn't that crazy?
See, I think where some of the companies mess themselves up are Netflix and Disney Plus, because now if Disney puts out a movie, they're going to have to do the same thing they did with Mulan that we talked about, where you have to charge extra to see the new movie, because otherwise they're not going to make any profits off of it. If it goes straight from we made it to it's the service that you already pay for, they're not going to get any money like they do from the release dates, like they do from going to the box office, all that other stuff. So movies are going to tank in quality, they're going to tank in quantity, and we don't know where that's going to end up. I mean, let's be honest, in terms of content, they haven't been great in the past couple of years. Disney's been rehashing old stories, and some of them not that well. Mm-hmm. But
dude, okay, so Mulan, the 2020 film, had a budget for $200 million. You know how much they got in the box office?
I do not.
66 million. 200 million budget and 66 million back. That is what we call a loss. That is what we call a net loss. And I don't think they made their money back with Disney Plus either.
Not at all.
I don't even know how much money they could have gotten from that. But 200 million. They put all their chips in this basket. They put, or what is it? They put all their eggs in this basket. Oh gosh.
You and chips. But no, like I think we talked about it when we reviewed what was going on with the movie. It wasn't that great. It had a lot of CG, and It was a very complex story, but it wasn't. And I know this is a nostalgia thing. It wasn't the Mulan that we grew up with, but it just wasn't a good movie to me.
It wasn't, unfortunately. And I hope, just like what we said about music, and really looking forward to 2021 with the kind of music that we hope will be coming out. I really hope that we're going to get some really good movies in 2021 as well. I mean, we know we're getting good
Animated.
movies.
I think if anything, we're going to start getting more animated movies, and it's going
Yeah,
to be good.
probably. It's easier to do that. I still hope we get even live. I mean, we were supposed to get Mortal Kombat at the beginning of January, and they finished filming, which is great. But if all this stuff doesn't blow over and the movie theaters aren't even open, I think they'll postpone it. I don't
When
think
is
they'll.
FNAF supposed to come out?
Oh, dude, FNAF was supposed to come out. We're getting more word on it. If you don't know what FNAF is, it's Five Nights at Freddy's. It is a scary. It's a scary game. Really, really cool how that started off.
I showed it to Adam a few years ago. It was a Markiplier video, and he's like, "Oh, what's this?" And we're just watching Markiplier get the pants scared off of him, and then Adam started diving into it. Oh, I'm gonna watch all the episodes. Oh, I'm gonna watch all the theories, and then we both watched the theories together. We watched the new ones when they came out. We watched the off-brand movie clips and stuff that that were fan made,
Yeah.
and
Well, and you got to know this about me. Like I get on like what's the word? Bandwagons. I get on bandwagons a lot. So something doesn't just become
this week the
interesting to
trend.
me. Yeah. Something doesn't just become interesting to me. Like I will make my whole life about something for like a good month. But even then, I'll make my life about something for a whole month and still care about it afterwards. But like I think I just get addicted to like, oh, here's a new cool interesting thing. Let me learn everything I can about it and consume all the content about it so that I can speak, and be relevant to the conversation.
So I can understand what other people are saying about it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a really scary, funny, like cool
Okay,
computer game.
it's not traditionally scary. It is jump scares. It is
Yeah.
only jump scares. It only gets scary if you read into the lore and the books and the comics and all that other stuff.
Gets potentially disturbing if you read into the lore in the comics. But at its basic form, it's just a game where you're in this pizzeria and these animatronics come and try to attack you, and the only way that you have to protect yourself is by closing these doors on the side of you. But closing these doors makes you run out of electricity, and you only have a finite amount, and if you run out, the doors are wide open and the animatronics can come and get you. And all throughout the game, the animatronics are moving, so you don't know where they are, you don't know how close they are to you. So it's just this like you're on the edge the whole time trying to figure out, where are they close, are they not, are they going to come get me? And then if they do get you, it's not just like they get you, it's like it's like in your face, loud noises, scary images. It's really scary if you first get into it, and then as the games progress, it just adds in more factors and more jump scares and more storyline to it. It's really cool.
As the game goes on, they either change the mechanics or they add new ones. And I think the most disturbing part is you don't know actually what happens when they catch you. And that adds a whole new set of mystery to whether they're killing you, whether they're doing something to your body, whether it's just that
Yeah.
they jump scare you, and that's literally the end of it. And that's where all the theories come in, where we have to try to understand the lore, what the order of the movies are, what they say about the different games, etc.
Yeah, and the storyline keeps building and building and building as they create more games. So they've created a lot of different games, and the storyline is
And they
just
kept saying,
so
"This will be the last
insane.
one. No, this will be the last one. No," and now we're on Security Breach,
Yeah,
which I'm looking forward to.
I think the reason why there's so many games is because the storyline left so many plot holes and people wanted answers, and so the writer, the maker of the game, he was just like, oh well, I can create answers for that, and we can keep dragging this on and dragging this on and expanding, and he just makes it work. Like there's a couple of things that don't work, but as far as the whole storyline, he has done an amazing job with just making it work, making it scary, making it interesting, and has made it a potentially really good movie. And so we were looking forward to that, and it's definitely a movie that you would want for Halloween. I don't know if it's coming 2021 Halloween, 2022 Halloween, but this is definitely going to be a movie that all of you will be interested in watching. Believe us, it's an interesting storyline, and it's going to be really cool to see how they make it all work in the live action. Jack Black is going to be a part of it, most likely. Yeah, so that's something that we'll throw out there for right now, since it's Halloween time right now.
And here's a promise I'm going to make now for the both of us. When this comes out, we're going to do a review of it, because we're going to be so excited when it comes out to watch it and tell all of you what we think.
Yeah.
Because we think you care what we think. But if you didn't, you wouldn't be watching. So.
Yeah. And it's fun to go on these bandwagons. So you'll just have to go on with us. Unfortunately, I annoyed Eli with the Jurassic Park bandwagon. Elijah really likes dinosaurs, and so I went like all in on the dinosaur thing. And
it's like, okay, it's not cool anymore because you're into it.
He totally told me, he's all like, I like dinosaurs, but like, you could take it easy. You can. Elijah. I know I've mentioned Elijah on here before. He's really like showing me my flaws. I don't know if parents can relate.
You mean
to
everything I've been telling you for years?
No, but yes, of course. Brothers, all family, right? Family shows you your flaws. But taking care of Elijah when we've been watching him has been great, because it does show you where you fall short, and some of these pet peeves that you should be letting go of. So that's been really fun. Yeah. Andrew, you want to do our first reaction to a song? We mentioned it in one of our previous episodes. Kutless said they're coming back with music that is even harder than it used to be, and we didn't quite know what that meant. We didn't quite know what direction that was going to go, how hard, whatever. I actually have a clip, and since it's not copyrighted yet, I think we can play it.
See, I don't know the disclaimer laws in case we get in trouble for this.
Nah.
So we'll just say outright, name of the song, who it's from, and minimize screen. Cover all our bases.
Well, I can actually play it from my phone, so
that works.
And there's actually no screen. There's no picture. There's no name of a song. Nothing. It's just a demo that they released. Okay. So if you want a good representation of the kind of music that Andrew and I kind of like, you're getting your first glimpse of it right here. Okay. So this is a new song that's coming out from Kutless, and this is the first little snippet. Great intro so far.
Realize that for everyone watching, this looks super awkward, and for everyone listening, I can only imagine. Just sitting here bobbing our heads to this.
That's it. That's all we get. What do you think?
And it sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to that. Growing up with Kutless, the kind of Kutless songs that we grew up with were more mellow than that. but I'm definitely looking forward to what
That's a
this
good
is sounding like.
representation of the kind of music we like, right? It's
Absolutely.
got some deep guitars. It's got a rock kind of feel. Um, in that particular clip, we didn't hear any screaming. I like screaming, but Andrew doesn't really care for it. We didn't even
I
really
don't
get
care for singing that I can't understand what they're saying.
right. And he's not giving his yelling voice yet in that song. A little bit more clean, a little bit more of a clean vocal. But it sounds great. I'm looking forward to it, man. Kutless is a band that played rock and did it well. Great lyrics, great sound, great riffs. And then they went into a worship style, and it wasn't bad. It was really really good worship songs, really really good renditions of worship songs. But then they kind of just like stayed in that genre. They continued to put out worship albums and worship songs, and they were all great songs. But it was just kind of like, but Kutless is a worship band now, and they were a rock band, and we kind of want them to stay a rock band, but they're not anymore. So
See, but we got some beautiful songs out of that. Strong Tower, God of Wonders. I like those songs. Those are the ones I was talking about that I grew up with. But I didn't get fully exposed to what they were before that.
yeah, no, they were. Yeah, you did. They were the Kutless, Your Touch, Shut Me Out, Hearts of the Innocent.
Hearts and Innocent. That one I remember.
Yeah, those albums are definitely harder. To Know That You're Alive, definitely harder. Definitely had some great riffs. He even screamed in a lot of his songs. But they just, the songs that you think are their worship songs, like they've put out like another two or three albums that were worship albums, and not a lot of people know about them because they just kind of they just weren't marketed well, and
They
they
kind of
weren't.
faded out.
Yeah, they kind of faded out. And honestly, a lot of people listened to them because they were a rock band, and then when they went worship, a lot of people, and kind of me included, just stopped listening to their new music. So I'm really excited to hear that they're going back to that rock sound, and that it's even harder than it used to be. I'm happy about it. I'm looking forward to it. All right, Andrew, we've held off long enough with these random topics. We got to talk about some politics.
We always have to bring up current events at least once every episode. We've agreed to this, whether it's politics or just what's going on. Sadly, because it's an election year, it's probably going to be politics every time. Today, we wanted to talk about a number of things that have been going on during this week, past couple weeks, starting with the vice presidential debate.
Yeah. Oh gosh. You at least would hope that the vice presidential debate would be better than the actual presidential debate. And it was and it wasn't. Andrew, did you get a chance to watch highlights of the debate or watch the debate all the way through?
I watched a couple of highlights, but the only information I really got from it was Kamala answering with non-answers to their questions, and that there was a fly. That's really what people were focusing on. I watched the presidential debate all the way through, and it was a yelling match. It was all that other stuff. The vice presidential debate was a little more formal, a little less yelling at each other to cut each other off, but it was still pretty much the same.
Yeah, I watched it all the way through twice and got a lot of commentary on this one because there was more content. There was more actual things talked about than just it being a yelling match. Yeah. And you're right. Like, people took away the fly. People took away Kamala's looks, and that both of them kind of avoided certain questions. It was a common thought that they both were going to bring up their own topics. They all knew what they were going to talk about, and they were going to make that the agenda of the debate. But right off the bat, Kamala Harris gets asked the first question, and it's about coronavirus, and she leads in with saying that, the Trump administration has failed. You have failed this city, and pulled a Oliver Arrow You failed the city.
See, but it comes. I saw this in the presidential debate too. They both want to, rather than answer the questions for themselves, like, what are you going to do about it? What I'm going to do about it doesn't matter. It's about what they already did and didn't work. They keep trying to turn it around to pin it on Trump for the things that he's done when he's actually doing things.
Yeah, yeah. So she comes out, strong with saying that they failed and that they didn't do a good job and that they lied and they were hiding that they knew and everything that we know that she would lead with. And Mike Pence. Mike Pence only noteworthy response there because of course he's going to say that's not our fault. The China virus, it came to us from China and everything. We lost 200,000 and not 2 million, everything. His only notable response to that specifically was that under Obama's administration, when we got the H1N1 virus, the amount of people who got infected with that was 60 million, as opposed to only 7 million in the US when it came to the coronavirus. Now, it's so tough to play these games of who would do what and who would do things differently and why and would this person have done that at this time because it was this deadly or whatever. But if we look at how deadly the coronavirus is and still how many people died with the H1N1 virus, people were still dying. And so they needed to contain the spread no matter what. I think that the excuse that they made was that since the H1N1 virus was not as deadly, they didn't make as many restrictions. They didn't see it necessary to make as many restrictions because there was such a low death rate. Even though there were 60 million people who were infected with the H1N1 virus, the swine flu, there were still deaths happening. And all the way back when we had no deaths, that's when travel was restricted with China. All the way back when we had very little deaths in March, that's when the lockdowns were in place. We didn't wait for it to be this grand number. It happened, of course, and it's unfortunate that that did happen. But there's speeches all the way back in February where even Trump said that just because we're making these preparations doesn't mean that we won't lose people. So,
See, and one thing I have to say, because I have to make the same condemnation that I did for Kamala, is that him saying, oh, well, this is what happened when Obama was in office. Biden isn't Obama. Kamala isn't Biden. So to make that claim, I do have to be even on both sides. For them pointing fingers at the other party rather than saying, okay, this is what you're doing, this is what I'm going to do, that still has to be applied.
Right, yeah. And like I said, it's so difficult to say who would do what, when, and why, and all those different. It's so hard to play that game, especially like when you look at what Trump's administration had done, and then what Biden was saying at the time, what Nancy Pelosi was doing at the time, and it's such a mess to try to navigate through. I think that it's a distraction to continue to put the blame on Trump. It is a virus, and unfortunately, you cannot vote against a virus. You can vote against a person, but you can't vote against a virus. And I am not going to blame Trump for how deadly a virus is. I would blame him for how they contained or did not contain the virus. And just those numbers alone, saying that 7 million people were infected rather than 60 million people, I don't know if that shows that he did a better job of containing this spread better than Obama did in the Obama administration. I don't know what that means. Again, who can say either way? But to say he did nothing when if it was really nothing, if he really had done nothing, we would have seen 60 million people infected or more. To say he did nothing is inaccurate. So, there needs to be some understanding that it's
and
not
even to say that he didn't do
fault.
enough or he didn't do it soon enough, we would never know, because if he had cut it off sooner, it would have been the same thing as his travel ban. People would call him a racist. Oh, why are you afraid of China just because they're suffering right now?
And
You should be letting people in, and then not doing enough. Those are people keep thinking that the government just has an endless supply of money. No, the money that the government has comes from us.
Right.
They only have so much to spend.
The really big issue here is that if they can pin the coronavirus on Trump and make people believe that it's all Trump's fault, then they can blame him for the economy, then they can blame him for the unemployment, they can blame him for the racial tensions, they can blame him for everything, because if the coronavirus caused all these things and he caused the coronavirus, then there you go. I don't believe it's that simple. I don't believe it's that simple at all. And we have to look at all the other factors, and then again ask in the next 4 years, because Mike Pence made the point that what Biden is planning on doing with the virus is exactly the same thing that they're doing now. That's all you can do. All you can do is, other than a nationwide mandate for lockdowns and masks, which I agree with Mike Pence and President Trump and the Conservative Party that you need to give people the freedom to decide what they're going to do. There's certain things that you shouldn't mandate, and locking down the whole economy is definitely one of those things. If a business can stay open and keep their people safe, then they should do so. They should
If
have
I'm
the
going to go
freedom
outside
to do
and
so.
start licking sidewalks and I get myself sick, that's on me.
Right.
If I go out and do stupid crap and something happens that's bad to me, that's my fault.
Absolutely. And then the argument too of like, well, that's on you, yes, but what about the people that you spread it to? Well, again, everybody has the freedom to stay as safe as they want to stay and stay as isolated as they want to stay, as quarantined as they want to stay, but you can't live life. One thing that President Trump said when he got the coronavirus and when he started recovering, he's recovering now. Or fully recovered, actually. I think now. I think
He was
they
back. He
said,
was back at the White House 3 days.
yeah, he is out now. He is campaigning. He's feeling good. It's been past that 7 to 10 day mark now, so he is alive. He's going. He said,
People don't like that.
yeah, a lot of people don't like that. He was saying to not fear the coronavirus and not let it dominate your life. And people went crazy when he said that. They went completely crazy. Like, what do you mean? Don't fear. You have to be safe, and it's still a real threat and everything. You cannot live life in fear, okay, in irrational fear, locked in your homes over something that has a low death rate, a low infection rate. And again, it's still there. It's still real. You still need to keep yourself safe. Don't go licking sidewalks like Andrew. But again, you should not allow it to dominate your life. What he said has remained true this whole time. It has remained true throughout the entirety of the virus, and it will remain true as it continues on. Okay? You still need to live your life. You still need to make money. You still need to feed your family. You still need to continue living and not be irrationally afraid of this virus. Now, he also said that it wasn't as bad as the flu, and that's wrong. It is worse than the flu. Of course. Okay, so again, Trump is still Trump, and he will speak fluffery, which is not a good image for him. But people were going crazy over these little things that he said. So I don't blame him for the virus. I don't blame him for how deadly the virus is. He did make actions. He did contain the spread, and the states, what they decided to do had a lot to do with the containment as well. So it's on them for those things too. New York did a horrible job, and I think that that's all been put out there already. Everyone can go look up that information and see how elderly were put back in the homes, and that caused a bunch of deaths. And it just
See, what I think a lot of people don't understand is that what Trump is doing is more so just respecting state powers, because the state has control over what they mandate within the state, what they control, what they tell their citizens to do. Like what's going on in California right now, where they're making rules about Halloween, and they told us for the longest time businesses were going to get shut down.
yeah
Adam wasn't able to go to work for a while, and the state is in control of that.
yeah
And if anything, Trump is just respecting that rather than forcing every single state to go into lockdown.
yeah. So crazy stuff in the vice presidential debates too. Mike wasn't being super Mike Mike over there wasn't being super clear with Trump's health, and causing people were questioning why they weren't giving clear answers as to Trump's health. I don't know why he doesn't want to release or didn't want to release his medical status or his health status in its entirety. I don't know why, but he didn't, and I think he's still protected under HIPAA laws. So Mike Pence wasn't super clear. He wasn't super clear on the whole tax situation. Trump is still hiding his taxes, and we don't know why. I don't know why he wants to do
I
that.
quite frankly don't care at this point.
I think the majority of America doesn't care either.
No,
Again,
the people that care are the ones who want to say, "Oh, there's something wrong with it." Oh, they want to point something out that's negative. Negative or positive, I really don't care.
yeah, we want to know what's going to happen in the next 4 years. We want to know what is the consequence of who's going to be in power in the next 4 years. That is what matters. And for everyone that I've talked with about this presidential election, it's not about who it is. It's not about how good the person is. It's not about what they even personally believe. People have said, like, Trump's not a real Republican. He's a Democrat at heart. Okay, but he's signing Republican bills. You know, he's signing Republican laws and appointing Republican judges and appointing, all. It does not matter the person. Okay, what matters is the result of the next 4 years, the administration. What direction is a country going to go in the next 4 years?
See, but that
And
was our argument when Trump was originally elected. It didn't matter how much of a jerk he was. It didn't matter how outlandish he was, the statements he made, how much people didn't like him as a person. It mattered the policies that he was supporting, the policies that he was going to sign in, the things that he was going to actively do once he became president, and the things that he could, the things that he has the power to change. He tried. He did it. He signed into legislation. He did executive orders. He signed away everything that he wanted to sign away from the Obama administration. He, to the best of his ability, he kept the promises that he made. And that's more than we can say for a lot of our past presidents.
Yeah. And I think the big issues that people are worried about when it comes to Trump is the Affordable Care Act. They don't want him to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, especially when it comes to people with pre-existing conditions. And I think that as long as he replaces it, as long as he's got a good plan in replacing it, then everything should be fine. I think that he knows that he needs to keep people with pre-existing conditions on his plan. He needs to make it better than what it was and more efficient and actually make sense. The other issue are the Roe versus Wade, the abortion. I think that people are smart enough to know that Republicans have views on pro-choice and pro-life, and that their votes and their views lean pro-life and not pro-choice. And so, if it ends up going that way, I think that they need to do the best that they can with accommodating the Democrats, but at the same time, we want to make a stand in our country when we say that lives matter, all lives matter, and we say that we all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is also true of unborn children, of unborn babies. So,
and that's something else that I think I would like to point out. I'd like to think that I'm speaking on behalf of both me and Adam, that when it comes to the definition of life, it has to do with the potential life. And people have used the argument, oh, well, what if someone's on a machine where it's completely supporting their life and they're a vegetable? Well, there's still the potential that they could come back. And I think that's a very important distinction that we as Christians want to make. The potential for life to exist matters to us. And on top of that, if it comes down to a matter of choice, if that continues to be the precedent for abortions, then if anything, we hope to convince you that to choose life, not just life versus choice, but if you're going to choose, we hope you choose life because it matters to us. We hope it matters to you.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to that, I think Andrew and I are on the same page that we want and we really do view unborn children as people and as lives and as valuable. And when you abort a child, that's a murder. That's a life taken. And we don't say that to guilt. We don't say that to shame. We just say that with the understanding that that something important was lost, something that should have had the opportunity to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness did not. And I think that it's not out of the realm of understanding to think that if you were to see someone get shot dead, or see someone dead on the ground, and you were to just think like, wow, I can't believe that person is dead, and you just feel the weight of what that actually means. That is what we feel when it comes to abortions. That is what we feel when we find out that either someone is making public that they had an abortion or someone's celebrating that they had an abortion. Like it just feels like a person who killed someone and was proud of it. And that is what we believe.
Because what
So
you hear when someone's killed, it's, oh, they were so young. Oh, they had their whole life ahead of them. It's all the things that they could have been. And that's the same way we feel. Who's to say that unborn child couldn't have been someone monumental to our future? They couldn't have been a leader, a servant, a person who puts others above themselves, someone who would be noticeable in our society, or someone who chose a different path, but they have to have a life in order to go one way or the other.
right. So yeah, I think that if it we'll have to see how it all turns out, because it does depend on whether the new justice gets sworn in to the Supreme Court or not. We don't know. That's in the process right now. That was one of the topics of the debates, was the Supreme Court. The Republicans, who are going against tradition, are appointing a Republican justice to the Supreme Court, and the Democrats are saying that it's wrong, that 4 million people have already voted for the next president, and we should wait until the election has been done and over with to appoint a judge.
But to say that it goes against tradition would be to ignore that it's been done before. It's been done before where a justice has been appointed during an election year.
Right. But and Obama did appoint a judge, and the Senate didn't. Obama appointed a judge, and the Senate did not vote. They didn't even. If I understand correctly, they did not even entertain the thought of appointing the justice until after the elections. But again, it's not unconstitutional. It's not fair. Okay, I wouldn't say it's fair. I don't think me as in my own personality, I don't think I would do something like that. But you can't say it's illegitimate, and you can't say that it's unconstitutional. I heard Kamala Harris speaking on it the other day, and her saying that it's an illegitimate meeting because they're forcing it to happen. They're trying to rush it. It's during the middle of a pandemic. They should be prioritizing other things. The reality is that it's a constitutional action. They have the right.
He is still acting president, and he still has it within his power to do so. And that's why I would think me and Adam disagree on that, because I do think that this is something that is within Trump's right to do. But at the same time, for the same reason that the Senate didn't even entertain the voting of Obama's pick, they have the power not to do it this time. And that's the separation of powers. Trump still has to do his job, and his job would still be to appoint one. But whether or not they get voted in is up to the Senate.
Yeah. And I don't put it on Trump. I know Trump is going to appoint someone. Obama appointed someone, so I don't think it's Trump's fault at all. It relies on the Senate whether they're going to do it or not, and they decided to go along with it. They decided to go ahead and vote. So if anything, it's the Senate that is going against tradition, not necessarily Trump. But again, it's not unlawful. It's not unconstitutional. And just because I guess they did a poll, 75% of Americans believe that they should wait and they should hold off until after the elections. I'm sorry, but this is lawful. Like this is a part of the law. Even if the majority of people don't think so, this is not a pure democracy, and we don't work that way. There's checks and balances to make sure that it doesn't work that way, and this is one of them. So,
So I'd like to take a second to play devil's advocate here.
yeah,
Let's assume the winner of the presidential election. If it's Biden and Kamala, they're going to be celebrating in the streets. I think they're still going to riot. I think they're going to be like, well, we're in charge now, so we can do whatever we want. And I honestly believe that it's going to be some grand spectacle. And the right, the Republicans, everyone who would have considered that to have been a loss, they're not going to do anything. We're gonna do exactly what happened. They're gonna do exactly what happened when Obama was elected, and just be like, okay, he's the president. That's the
yeah.
end of
I
it.
mean,
But if Trump were to win, we're gonna get the same crap that we did 4 years ago.
yeah. I mean, I'll tell you this. Okay, I'll tell you this. One of the questions during the VP debate was about the whole packing the court, right? Are they going to pack the court? They're not answering. Biden didn't answer. They haven't answered multiple times. And so Mike Pence asked, are you guys going to pack the court? And of course, she dodges the question, doesn't answer it. They're most likely going to pack the court. Like, we know that this is pretty much the answer. Even I follow Occupy Democrats Occupy Democrats on Instagram.
I follow Occupy Democrats and Occupy Democrats logic, where they take Occupy Democrats posts and turn them on their head.
Yeah, I shouldn't be following Occupy Democrats because it just pisses me off sometimes. So one sided. It just is.
See, but you have to get the other side. You have to surround yourself with differing opinions so that
100%. That's why I do it. I do it for the benefit of the doubt. Okay, I do it so that I make sure I get all sides. I keep integrity with coming on this podcast and talking about it, knowing that I've heard both sides. Occupy Democrats and Steven Crowder, and Ben Shapiro, and the British guy. What's his name from The Daily Show? I watch him a lot too. I forget his name though.
What about the woman from Blexit? I forgot her name.
Oh, Candace Owens.
Yes.
Yeah, her too. I don't go to her content a lot, but no, on the Democrat side from The Daily Show, he's I forget. He's the British
I forgot
guy.
his name, yeah.
But anyways, I watch him a lot. So I make sure I listen to all sides. I watch CNN, MSNBC, Fox. We talked about this in the other podcast. You know, we try to make sure that we are well-rounded in all of these different inputs. Even Occupy Democrats said it's not wrong to pack the courts. They might as well start packing the courts. We're tired of being under conservative leadership. It's time to get rid of them. I'm sorry. Like, that's what checks and balances are. Like, that is why we have the system that we have, especially in a country where we know over the course of multiple years, the majority of people are Democratic. The majority of people are progressive. Like, we know that, but there's a reason why we have electoral college. There's a reason why we have appointed officials. There's a reason why it's not just a pure democracy.
So we don't have mob rule.
Yeah, and we would like to keep it that way. But yeah, they're most likely going to pack the courts. So we know what will happen in the next 4 years if that is to happen. There's going to be a monopoly over the law. I think they're going to take the House, and they might even potentially take the Senate. So if you've got one party who is taking control of all of the different branches of the government, that's not good. It's not a good thing. There's no more checks and balances.
See, this falls into the whole do unto others what you would have done unto yourself. I would never want that kind of power. Even if it was to things that we supported, I would never want that kind of power for the Republicans, for the Democrats, for anyone, because if they want to stack the courts and have a monopoly over the law, then what would happen if the Republicans did that? what would happen, even if it was something that we supported, if we said, oh well, everything that we want's going to happen now, we have the power to make that happen, but now so do they. And I would never, does that make sense? I would
Yeah.
never want a power that I would not want my enemy to have.
Yeah, and the what most people won't agree with me on this is that it's different if you're a progressive and a Democrat than if you're a conservative and Republican. It's different because you are expanding upon what has already been. The Republicans and conservative laws are more about going back to things that we've done in the past and back to laws that we've had in the past that are again more conservative, and the and I don't know if I'm 100% correct in this, but the Democrats and progressives are more about expanding and adding and creating more leniency on laws that we've had in the past and laws that we want to create for the future. So it is different if you have complete power with one party versus the other. If you have complete power to keep things the same and keep things conservative, that's a lot different than having all the power and wanting to completely change our country away from what it's been in the past. That is more dangerous power, in my opinion. So, I don't know if after these elections, if let's say Trump wins and let's say the justice gets in the Supreme Court, and let's say that the House is Democrat and the Senate is somewhere in the middle between Democrat and Republican. You still have checks and balances there. So, I think that at least Trump and Mike Pence are in the realm of being constitutional because he was elected president. He is the president, and of course he's going to appoint a conservative Republican justice. Like, he's doing what we all know he would do and what he should do under the Constitution. If Biden were president and he just started adding and packing the courts and adding more and more and more until he had the majority, that says something else. So, yeah, it's just a weird situation.
And all those checks and balances are in there for a reason, for exactly the reason of the Senate gets to decide whether or not the justice gets appointed, for the reason that any kind of legislation has to go through all three in order to be passed into law. And then if that is ever questioned, it has to go to the courts to decide, okay, what does this mean?
Yeah.
There's a system for a reason.
And
There's
we
an electoral
vote
college for a reason.
and we vote all those people in. We vote the Senate. We vote the president. We make our vote heard by doing those things. And so you can't really say that that it's unconstitutional because we've created these checks and balances by our own votes. So, and by the electoral college and by the checks and balances that we have there. So, yeah, again, in asking what's going to happen in the next 4 years, another thing that Kamala Harris didn't really answer or give clarification on was why the Green New Deal is in their website. And they continually said that they were not going to ban fracking, even though in the past we can bring up multiple times they've both said that they're going to ban fossil fueling and fracking and work it out. They're going to try to get rid of it. They said that they're going to take away Trump's tax cuts, and that it's not going to affect the lower brackets. It's not going to affect anyone who makes less than $400,000, which Mike Pence called her out on and said, no, if you're getting rid of all of Trump's tax cuts, it will affect people because people had more money in these last 4 years. People were able to keep, I think he said the average American kept $2,000 more dollars, saved $2,000 more dollars each.
And Biden said it outright. If I get elected, your taxes aren't going to go down; they're going to go up.
Yeah,
that's a quote.
And even then, let's say it is just the rich. Okay, let's say they do just tax the highest brackets of people. I don't agree with this whole take from the rich to give to the poor. I don't agree with it. I don't think that it's how we need to model our country. I don't believe that making them pay more taxes is them paying their fair share. I think the taxes that they're already paying is their fair share. That's fine.
because they already
Um,
pay more than anyone else.
I don't know if we talked about this in another episode, in a past episode, but I've been realizing and seeing that the government is trying to do what the church is meant to do. The government is trying to feed the poor. The government is trying to give money to the poor. The government is trying um, to reach out to the minorities and heal people with health care. And the government is trying to do all these different things, redistribute wealth. That's something that the church is supposed to do, and more specifically, that's something that we're all individually encouraged to do under God's word. We're individually encouraged to give to the poor, to take care of the widows, to go and hear the people and heal the people and do those things, and to reach out and make disciples among people, changing hearts, changing lives, like creating a better community by going into the community and doing those things. Those are things that we individually and as a church are supposed to do. And it just, I don't think that it's right that our government is stepping in and saying, no, 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 we're going to feed the poor. No, 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 we're going to accommodate the minorities. No, 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 we are going to take care of the widows and give financial aid and all those different things. But we're going to do it by
With
taking
your
away.
money.
Yeah. We're gonna do it by taking away everybody's money and redistributing it ourselves. We'll be in charge of how that goes.
This is a conversation I've had 100 times, maybe more, with people where they say, "Why do you want to cut taxes?" Because I would rather people give from their own heart. Because the fact of the matter is,
Exactly.
I support charity. I think that the charities that give tax deductions and all that incentive to give to people who need it, that is perfectly fine. I am 100% okay with that. But for the government to take it at gunpoint, because any kind of legislation, any kind of law against a person is ultimately compelled by force. They're literally taking our money at gunpoint for what they decide should be given to, what they decide who they think deserves it. And it
Yeah.
turns into people abusing the system. It turns into people who are on food stamps or are getting Social Security who don't need it. And
Yeah.
that is not to say that some people don't need help. There are people who need the food stamps. There are people who are on disability. There are people who need it who might not be able to get it because there are others already in the system who are abusing it.
Yeah. And look, like Jaylene, my wife, has been telling me that she wants to leave California for like forever. She's been telling me that for years. And we have family here.
Everyone has been telling him to leave California. He's the only one who wants to stay in our entire family.
Anyways, we have family here. We both have family here. I have ties here. She has ties here. So it just has made more sense to stay. But I've been realizing more and more that California is like the laughing joke of America.
You're only just realizing this? You're only just realizing this. You haven't seen the fact that every surrounding state has been afraid because Californians are leaving. They're like, okay, don't bring that crap over here.
Yes, I know. But I've just been seeing how like we've been the laughing joke of the country. People point to California when they see the extremism of democratic policies, and it's true. It's so true. And I think that Ben Shapiro put it in a great way. He posted a YouTube video called 5 Reasons Why. I think he said why everyone should leave California, but he said 5 reasons why he at least is leaving California. And one of his points was so true, that in the state that has some of the highest taxes and some of the worst living conditions, why would you do that? What if you go to LA, if you go to West Hollywood, if you go to even Whittier, even where I've worked, there's homeless everywhere. The community is not a good environment, and yet people are taxed, giving their money to the community to help feed and support some of these people, to try to fund the roads and fund the quality of life and fund all these things, and yet quality of life is so low. The community is so bad, and the taxes are so high, and things are so expensive.
And they
Why?
want to raise taxes. They want to raise minimum wage, which will raise the cost of living, and it's going to get worse. The roads are still going to be crap because that's one thing that I think every Californian at some point has complained about, how crappy our roads are, despite how much we have taxes for that specifically. Gas prices are going to go up. Everything's going to cost more and more, and the quality is going to go farther and farther down. Why? Because they put in reserves. They decide what's actually getting funded versus what they say they're going to use to fund it. The politicians are sitting pretty in their multiple homes, cashing that paycheck every single election year, and it's never going to stop.
Governor Newsom's looking mighty sexy with the fires as his backdrop. You know, it all doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's frustrating. It makes me want to leave. It makes me want to go somewhere else. And a lot of people have gone somewhere else. A lot of people are taking their businesses and leaving because it's so bad, because it doesn't make sense, and they can save money and be elsewhere and do the same things, especially now that things are virtual and things are on the internet and on social media. So and guess what? Kamala Harris comes from California.
Not surprised.
So it's going to be scary to see what happens if Biden and Kamala Harris become the administration for America. And not scary in the sense of I think it's going to be apocalyptic or anything. It's not the end of the world. We will survive. It'll be fine. California probably won't change at all. But it is really sad to see how towards the end of the VP debates, Kamala Harris said all the things that have been debunked, all the things that we have things to say against, things that we've brought up before, things that Biden has brought up, things that happened with the presidential debates. She brought up at the end in her closing statements basically that that Trump was a white supremacist, and that
despite the fact that he disavowed them multiple times, the KKK, white supremacy in general, calling it evil.
He mentioned that, or she mentioned that that he told people to put Clorox in their arm, to inject Clorox or bleach into themselves. She mentioned that Trump told people to stay calm. And how calm were you when you were going out and trying to buy toilet paper? How calm were you when you didn't know when your kids were going to go back to school? She said that Trump said that the coronavirus was a hoax. Like all these things that we have rebuttals for. All these things that have been debunked. They've honestly been debunked, and yet she's using them as her
It's
main
not even a
argument.
matter of argument at this point. It's a matter of that's an outright lie.
Yeah, and the only thing she cares about, because she's not counting on anybody looking it up, especially if they don't like Trump. They're not going to look it up and check. I wonder if Trump did say that he denounces white supremacy. I wonder if he did do this. No. She's counting on you listening and watching her. And this is what she did during the debate, okay? This is what she did. How dare President Trump do what he did or not do what he didn't do? How dare he? I mean, think about it. Really think about it. He told the Proud Boys to stand back, to stand by. How dare he say that?
I'm getting Greta Thunberg flashbacks.
It's very manipulative rhetoric. It's very manipulative ways of gesturing and wording. Even when Mike Pence said things against her that were 100% true and 100%, like mic drop, she just smiled. She was just like,
Mic drop? Really?
Yeah, Mike Pence drop. She just smiled and was like, no, people won't believe you.
Because they know they have that kind of power. They know they have that grasp on people, where it's gotten to the point where, like I'm sure somebody is going to say, "Oh, well, you guys just believe this crap because you're Republicans, you're raised this way, you're raised conservative." No, we question everything
And
that we
we
hear.
go
That's why
back.
we'll call them out on we'll call Trump and uh, Pence out on crap if they try to pull it, because we look at both sides. We do our best to remain as little biased as we can be, but we don't follow blindly. And there are so many people who are willing to follow blindly because they promise so much. They promise universal health care. They promise college college debt forgiveness. They promise free college in the future, which is a horrible thing to do to the public school system.
Yeah,
I think anyway.
and again, you have to look what is going to happen in the next 4 years. Okay, if you would all just go back and look at all of the things that Trump has signed and done and made happen, if you would just go back to
What he's
the
actually
exact
done.
if you would just go back to the exact speeches that Kamala Harris quotes from and takes out of context, okay? If you would just go back to those exact speeches, listen to 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after, just do that, and you will hear how it proves itself right. It proves her wrong, and it proves that Trump does denounce white supremacy. It proves that he was trying to put it in context and be politically correct and make sense, okay, and not say stupid things like the coronavirus is a hoax, or to put bleach in your arm, or that there's good Nazis out there. All things taken out of context. Go and watch the actual speeches in context and learn for yourself. Okay, learn how easily it is to manipulate an entire nation with the media and with little 15, 60-second bits of information, and educate yourself. Okay, and then go back and watch Biden's too. Watch Biden's whole thing, and you'll see how he messes up too. Okay, and you'll see
we've
he's
said
not
this before.
this perfect man, or this perfect being that the Democrats are putting out him to be.
And we've said this before. Don't trust us. Don't trust them. Don't trust us. Go figure it out for yourself. Go look at all of the different options. Don't trust what we're saying as facts without actually going and hearing it for yourself. Like we said, listen to the speeches. Don't just take our word for it that it says that. Go and figure it out for yourselves, because we don't want to be the reason you get false information. So yeah, just don't trust us in that we're saying go look for it for yourselves, but don't trust us in the factual points of it. We can aim you in the right direction, but you need to see it for yourself.
Yeah, and don't fall for stupid stuff like the whole fly thing. Okay, I swear. Are we in kindergarten? Like, for real? You watch a debate.
We still live in California. Debate. Yes, we are.
You watch a presidential debate, and the best thing you can take away is to call names because a fly lands on someone's head. Like, really? It really pisses me off. It really upsets me that, like, that's the thing you want to put. That's the thing you want to that your argument for why he's wrong. Oh, because a fly landed on him, and you know what flies are attracted to. You know, how stupid, how juvenile. Okay? Talk about policies. Talk about
the 2020.
Yeah, talk about policies. Talk about what's going to happen the next 4 years. Talk about how Kamala evaded these questions, and talk about how certain people took Mike Pence out of context when they said, "Oh, he wasn't answering the question." No. He was using his time to say what he was trying to say in the previous question, and then he did address the question. The only things he didn't answer outright was about Trump's health, which is Trump's business, and Trump's taxes, which is also Trump's business. Totally makes sense, right? So
he can't answer questions that he probably doesn't have. He doesn't, at least at the very least, he probably doesn't feel like he has the right to say it.
Mike Pence probably doesn't even know. He
probably doesn't even know.
Mike Pence has probably not even seen Trump's taxes. He's too good of a guy. Trump probably was like, "Hey, Mike Pence, look at these. These are my taxes." He's like, "No. I don't want to know."
He's the DD who's like, I don't want to know where you're going. Just call me when you're done. I'll go pick you up. I don't want to know what kind of crap you're getting into. Just Call me when you're done.
If the American people don't know, then I don't deserve to know. Yeah. So
I believe that. I believe that if that was legitimately what he thought.
I would believe that too. Honestly, Mike Pence doesn't seem like such a bad guy. Nobody knows that much about him, unfortunately, but he doesn't seem like that bad of a guy.
Because Trump is the showman. That's why.
Yeah,
Everyone's focused on him.
I did actually go on a rabbit trail of finding out who Mike Pence was. He does seem like a good guy. Got saved at a rock concert, or not a rock. Sorry, he got saved at a Christian concert. So that's pretty cool.
Same.
He did also host a talk show because he didn't get into Congress, or he didn't get into what's the word for it? Politics. Yeah, he was trying to get into politics, didn't get in, so he started a talk show, and then after the talk show, then he got governor, so of Indiana, I think, governor of Indiana. So that was cool. I heard some things happen that were shady. I heard some things that were questionable. So, or that
That's literally every candidate for everything. So.
Yeah. So, definitely deserves some looking into but overall, he seems like a very conservative person with very conservative views, maybe more conservative than other people. And, definitely doesn't seem like a mirror image of Trump or anything. But yeah, we need to look at all of the facts and look at what's going to happen in the next 4 years, and not be misled by the media thinking that Trump hasn't done anything. Trump hasn't signed any bills or signed any laws, signed any executive orders. He hasn't done anything.
And we can't say that he's not a little. We can't say that he's the sharpest tool in the shed. We can't say that he's never done anything wrong. He hasn't said anything stupid. So, playing devil's advocate, there are things that we don't like, but overall, he's getting the job done.
Trump is not a good man.
No.
I don't think he's a good man. I even heard someone try to say that he is moral because he does what he says. He's fluffed up way too many things for me to say that he's a moral person. He's a man of fluffery. He's not a humble man. He doesn't ever say that he's done something wrong. It is very difficult to like someone who is like that. But at the same time, again, you have to ask what's going to happen in the next 4 years.
It doesn't matter if you like him or not. It matters about what he's going to do for us as a country.
And we've both said this. We ideally would pick someone else. We both want someone else. We are looking forward to the next 4 years. And afterwards, someone else who hopefully has a brain and is not 70 will become president of the United States. We hope that will happen.
We're voting for the shiniest of two turds. There's pick your poison. We don't have anything better than this. We're sorry.
Right.
We wish it was better.
But we happen to agree with the views of the Republican Party as well. So we know that things will lean in that direction if Trump is elected. So at the end of the day, that's where we stand. We want those laws and we want those things to happen in the country, and that is what we are voting for. That's really what it comes down to.
And not even to say that it's a party voting kind of thing. Like, we're not voting Republican because we're Republican. We're voting Republican because we support the policies. Generally, we support the policies that they have, and that leans more in the direction that we feel personally.
Yeah. So that's where we stand with that. And honestly too, I've seen so many things here in California that I just don't want what is happening to California to happen to the rest of the country, and even to see our own officials. The Laker game, the Laker finals was the other day. The Lakers won.
Oh my gosh.
We don't need to spend a lot of time on this because, quite frankly, only 30% of people will care, since the viewership for basketball went down 70%.
That should tell you something.
That should tell you something. The NBA has become extremely political. Specifically, the Lakers have become extremely political, showing that they support Black Lives Matter, showing that they're going to make the game all about Black Lives Matter and Kobe Bryant, which I try to separate their skill and their talent from their views, and you just can't when they have made that a part of their identity. And if they're going to make that a part of their identity, then they have to suffer the consequences. The consequences are that 70% of people don't want to hear it. 70% of people don't want to see it, don't want to hear it, don't agree with them. and they're left with 30% of the people who agree. It's an echo chamber. They're left with 30% of an echo chamber who believe what they believe and will watch them for their skills. I can appreciate that the Lakers won the championships and that LA wants to celebrate for that, and they want to say, hey, we did a great job. This is great for LA. This is great for the city. This is great for California, all those different things. I can appreciate that, but I don't agree with the views, and there's going to be changes made. They even said that Black Lives Matter and the views, the political views, next season they're going to be more off court than on court. And even then, what happened afterwards? Did you see? Nothing says celebrating a victory
Like throwing rocks at cop cars.
like throwing rocks at cop cars and meeting in the intersections of lanes and in the streets. Nothing says celebrating like fireworks right in the middle of the roads and keeping people from going home.
You can't condemn hatred and then blatantly support hatred of other people.
And
Like, as long as they're on our side, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and to be honest, that probably would have happened anyways, whether they won or lost. But
Yeah.
what was really hilarious, I even had to call you, I even had to vent to you. What was really hilarious was that the news of California, of California, where Governor Newsom is holding his iron fist down on all small businesses and big businesses, even Disney, keeping them from opening. The news was saying, oh, health officials are discouraging people from meeting, but they're just excited. They're just happy that their team won. They're all assuming the risks and everything, but they really needed this win. Mayor Garcetti was on the phone with the news station saying that he told the police departments to have a soft hand with this one because they're really happy and they're just celebrating. And he even said that we're going to allow them to have the personal responsibility for their own health and safety and the health and safety of each other. Where was that this whole last 6 months?
When you can tell the police to not enforce the law, first off, and then for the people to still throw rocks at them to what was the shortcomings of a riot. They could have hurt a lot of people, caused damage for the police department, for the city, and no repercussions. No condemnation.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. And to where was that for the small businesses who shut down? Where was that for the people who needed to make a living? Where was that for the people who are now struggling to get unemployment and struggling to figure out what they're going to do? Or even the people who just decide, okay, fine, I'm going to leave my career, and now they'll never be able to do things that they love, never be able to do the things that they were called to do or meant to do. Where's that for the churches? It's okay to meet and gather if you're worshiping the Lakers or if you're worshiping the city, but it's not okay if you're going to be worshiping God. It's not okay if you're going to be worshiping Jesus Christ in a church. And they've been fighting hard. They've been fighting hard against John MacArthur and his church.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they're telling the police to have a soft hand with the people celebrating for the Lakers game one. So I just don't. If
that wasn't obvious hypocrisy, obvious bias, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, hypocrisy. It benefits them, of course, and it's funny too because just like you see with certain movies with Rotten Tomatoes. Like take Cuties for instance, when we talked about them, Rotten Tomatoes gave them a high rating in the critics, right? Critics gave it a high rating, but the audience gave it a low rating. When do you see that happen? When things are trying to be shoved on the audience, right? When you have critics who try to exalt something up as a big deal, but then the audience says, no, we didn't say this was we didn't like this. We don't want it, right? That's exactly what's happening here with basketball. 70% of people said they don't care. 70% of people said we don't want to watch. Only 30% of people remained. And yet it was all over the news, and yet they were allowing them to take over the streets during that time. They had a parade. This is a great example of the critics giving the Lakers a high rating and the audience saying, no, no, no. 70% of us were out. Only 30% care. And
See,
yet
this is
it's
part of the whole let the people speak, let the people decide,
yeah.
because they're deciding. They're deciding they don't care.
But nope, the news took it over. Mayor Garcetti gave it the okay. It just all doesn't make sense. So I think in the next couple of weeks, we'll see what happens with this justice. We'll see what happens with now. We'll see what happens now with the whole mail-in balloting and the ballot boxes. I don't know if you heard about that controversy, but in California, there's Republicans putting up ballot boxes, trying to do a ballot harvesting program, saying that the Democrats were harvesting ballots, and so now we are, but it's not completely legal because it wasn't done by county officials, and so now there's that big old mess. This whole election is a big mess. It's a big fat mess, and I have no clue how this is going to get cleaned up, dude. I don't
I
know.
don't know that it will. I don't know that it will because quite it. People will say, "Oh, well, the mail-in ballots are secure. We've done it before. People do mail-in ballots all the time." And this election in particular, I would not be surprised if someone just outright stole ballots, burned them, did something crazy to try and sway the election one way or the other, whether it was in a Democratic state or a Republican state. I I don't think we're safe from that. I don't think we're safe from somebody trying something, especially given the circumstances right
Well,
now.
every year there's somebody trying something. Every year there's some sort of voter fraud that happens. Whether the question is whether it's a large scale something, whether it's done by a whole party or whether it's done by a group of Democrats or Republicans. And so what the Democrats are saying now is that because the Republicans have put these ballot boxes around churches and gas stations and places and gun shops and everything, they're not actual official ballot boxes. They are put there.
Well, that's where they know their people go.
And I didn't quite understand that either. Like, do they really think that they're going to tamper with their own votes? Like, that doesn't make sense. But that's neither here nor there. I'm going to wait that one out because I don't know enough about it, and I don't know exactly what that's all going to mean. But there was a cease and desist given, and if certain boxes aren't removed by October 15th, then something's going to happen. I don't know what, but that's 2 days away. So you'll learn about that in the next week's episode. But this is just a huge mess, big old mess. I don't know how it's going to cleaned up. I don't know if this is going to be decided by the Supreme Court. And I don't know that if it is decided by the Supreme Court, if the people or the Democrats or the Republicans will yield to the judgment. I think we might even have a civil war. I don't know. It's looking like that. It's feeling like that. Everything is very us against them right now. It's very
I think if it
Democrats
came
versus
down to it,
Republicans.
if the Republicans had to yield, I think they would. Not silently, but they would still yield. They would say something, but they wouldn't do much.
If
But
it
if
made
the
sense, right? Because Trump has already said that he would not give a peaceful transition if it was fraud, if it was fraudulent, right? He wouldn't yield if it was fraudulent. So how do you prove that something is or isn't fraudulent? That's such a mess. How do you prove that this is legit when there's already so many messy variables in there? And then if he does win, and people are encouraging Biden not to concede, then how does Biden prove that it's fraudulent or not when it's such a mess?
Well, that's what they tried to do with the last election. They tried to say that Trump had it fixed, that somehow Russia was involved, that all this, that, and the other thing, and there was no proof. There's no proof of it.
So yeah, I guess we'll wait it out and see. I keep just a reminder to everybody listening. Okay, a reminder to everybody listening that all of this is temporary. Okay. And I'll say it again, we are not called to die upon our Republican flags or die upon our Democratic flags or die upon our American flags or our BLM flags or our whatever flag, our pride flags or whatever. We're not called to die upon any of those things. If you are a believer in Christ, you are called to the kingdom of God first and foremost, and that is what will forever be. Okay, everything
Absolutely.
else is temporary. I love this line from a new Nine Lashes song called Shadows, and it says that I never want to be a blind man forgetting that everything will end. I never want to be a blind man forgetting that everything will end. This will all end. This is not forever, okay? So we need to keep that into perspective and know that if Biden wins and we get 4 years of potentially more progressive laws and more abortions and more people leaving California, leaving the United States for work, and people getting less quality in their health care or less quality of life, less quality overall, you will still you still have eternity. You still have eternity. Okay, this is not everything. This is not forever. This is all temporary. And if Biden, or sorry, if Trump wins, and people think that he's going to be a white supremacist, and there's attacks on minorities, and he's an idiot, and stupid things are going to happen, or whatever. This is not forever, and this is not eternity. Okay, and those are the worst of what can happen for both. All right. The country will make it another 4 years, regardless of whether Biden is president or regardless of whether Trump is president. The country will make it another 4 years. I believe that. Looks like Andrew doesn't believe that.
See,
I
like
guess,
I agree with your earlier statement that there very well may be a civil war if people get too pent up, and the result of what that would mean could change our country. It might not even be there when it's over.
well,
We don't know how bad it's going to get because it comes down to who's going to react and then what's going to be the retaliation.
and again, I say that the government, I think on both sides, it has been trying to do things that the church is called to do. Okay, and I want to say this to specifically Christians and specifically the church. You are called to reach out to your community. You are called to go to the poor. You are called to go and give to the needy, to go to the widows, to ask your brother and your sisters and your neighbors what they need, how you can be of service. You are called to be Christ-like. You should, like, why is BLM a thing? Why was BLM the ones who decided that they wanted to be a voice for Black America when the church should have been that voice? The church should have been the one to go out and be an advocate for Black lives. The church should be the advocate for the poor and the homeless. The church should be all of those things. What are we doing wrong that the world isn't looking to us to fix those things, or to us to be a help in those things? Maybe we'll never fix it, right? We'll never fix poverty. We'll never fix homelessness. We'll never fix racism even. We'll never fix any of those things completely and wholly. They will always be here. It will always happen because sin is always going to be here. But why is the world not looking to us to help in those things? And I think that says a lot about us individually, and it says a lot about the church in general. We need to make a change. We need to actually have a love and desire to care about our people and not just our country.
You're going to quote a song, I'm going to quote a song too. What if his people prayed? And that's one of my favorite call to action songs, where it says, what if his people prayed? That's one part of it. But the whole thing is, what if we stood up for the people who can't stand up for themselves? What if we stood up for the future leaders? What if we stood up for the unborn child? What if we looked to God to solve our family problems rather than the world, rather than people who go on television? Why don't we look to God? And then what if we are the body? If we are the body of Christ, why don't we go out? Why aren't we his hands? If we are the body, why aren't his hands working? If we are the body, why aren't his feet moving? Why is Jesus not being shown to the world? Why is he not acting in the world if we are the body? That is our calling. That is what we are supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be Christ's representation on earth to the best of our ability.
That's going to be a good song to do a response to. And yeah, the words of that song are so, I want to go right now and listen to that song. If we're the body, why aren't his arms reaching? Why aren't his hands healing? And why aren't his words teaching? If we are the body, why is his love not showing them that there is a way and that Jesus is that way? Oh, such a powerful song. That is such a powerful song, and that is such a powerful message to end this episode on. If we are the body, then why aren't those things happening? We need to work. We need to move. We need to be those hands that reach out to the community or reach out to people.
This may be calling out the church a little bit, but I've noticed in the past 2 decades, our songs, our worship has turned from what we're called to do in the world to now let's worship God. And I'm not saying we shouldn't worship God. That is something that's very important, something that we should be doing. We're supposed to worship and fellowship together. But I think the church has lost sight of, we're still called to act. We're still called to do things in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not being represented.
Yeah, living out our worship has less to do with singing about waterfalls and mountains and rain and sunshine and all that stuff, and a lot more to do with looking at the ugly and the mess of the world and wanting to be a part of that solution and wanting to show people that Jesus is the solution, that God is the solution to those things, and that eternity should be the perspective. Totally agree with you, Andrew. With that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you get more episodes in the future. Give us a 5-star rating and review if you enjoyed what you heard. If you're listening to this episode and you want to watch any of our episodes, you can always scroll down and click the Watch This Episode link. We try to make sure that there's audio and video for you. The video is sometimes more fun because you get more context. But
you get to see our ugly mugs.
Yeah, and you get to see the colorful foods and drinks that we have for the episodes. But anyways, guys, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and until next time,
take care now.
Bye-bye.